Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Canto 1, Chapter 6, Text 20. Evam yatatam vijane vamaha gocharo giram gambirash lakshanmaya vacha shuchah prashamayanniva.
Translation: Since my attempts in that lonely place, the personality of Godhead, who is transcendental to all mundane description, spoke to me with gravity and pleasing words, just to mitigate my grief.
Text 21. Hantasmicharmani bhavan mamam drashtumiharhati avipakvakashayanam durdoshoham kikuyoginam.
O Narada, the Lord spoke, I regret that during this lifetime you will not be able to see me anymore. Those who are incomplete in service and who are not completely free from all material taints can hardly see me.
Text 22. Sakrutyattarshitam rupam etat kamaya tenaga matkamaha shanakai sadhu sarvan muchati truchayan.
Could you scroll up a bit, Mataji? Thank you. O virtuous one, you have only once seen my person, and this is just to increase your desire for me, because the more you hanker for me, the more you will be freed from all material desires.
Text 23. Satsevaya dirghayapi jata mayi drudamatihi hitva vatyamimam lokam gantamajjanatamasi.
By service of the absolute truth, even for a few days, a devotee attains firm and fixed intelligence in me. Consequently, he goes on to become my associate in the transcendental world after giving up the present deplorable material worlds.
Text 24. Matirmayi nipatteyam na vipatteta karhichit rajasarga nirodhepi smritischa madanugrahat.
Intelligence engaged in my devotion cannot be thwarted at any time, even at the time of creation, as well as at the time of annihilation. Your remembrance will continue by my mercy.
Text 25. Etavadukvo pararama tanmahat bhutam nabolingamalingamishwaram aham cha tasmai mahatam mahiyase Krishna vanamam pidadenu kampitaha.
Then that supreme authority, personified by sound and unseen by eyes, but most wonderful, stopped speaking. Feeling a sense of gratitude, I offered my obeisances unto him, bowing my head.
Text 26. Namanyanantasya hatatrapa patan guhyani bhadrani krutani cha smaran kam paryatanstu shtamanagataspruhaha kalam pratikshan vimado vimatsaraha.
Thus I began chanting the holy name and fame of the Lord by repeated recitation, ignoring all the formalities of the material world. Such chanting and remembering of the transcendental pastimes of the Lord are benedictory. So doing, I traveled all over the world, fully satisfied, humble, and unenvious.
Text 27. Evam krishnamate brahman asaktasyamanatmanah kalah pradurputkale taditsodamani yatha.
And so, O Brahmana Vyasadeva, in due course of time, I, who was fully absorbed in thinking of Krishna and who therefore had no attachments, being completely freed from all material taints, met with death as lightning and illumination occur simultaneously.
Text 28. प्रयुज्यमाने मयितां शुद्धां भागवतीं तमनुम् आरब्ध कर्म निर्वाणो न्यपतत् पाञ्चभौतिकः.
Having been awarded a transcendental body, befitting an associate of the personality of Godhead, I quit the body made of 5 material elements, and thus all acquired fruitive results of work, karma, stopped.
Text 29. कल्पान्त इदमादाय शयानें पस्युवत्तन्वतः शीश ईशोरनूर्प्राणं विविशेन्तरहं विभोः.
At the end of the millennium, when the personality of Godhead, Lord Narayana, lay down within the water of devastation, Brahma began to enter into him along with all creative elements, and I also entered through his breathing.
Text 30. सहस्रयुगपर्यन्ते उत्थायेदं शिश्रुक्षतः मरीचिमिश्रा ऋषयः प्राणेभ्योऽहं जज्ञिरे.
After 4,300,000,000 solar years, when Brahma awoke to create again by the will of the Lord, all the rishis like Marichi, Angira, Atri, and so on were created from the transcendental body of the Lord, and I also appeared along with them.
Text 31. अन्तर्बहिश्च लोकान् स्त्रीन् पर्येऽन्यस्कन्तितव्रतः अनुग्रहान् महाविष्णो विघातगतिः क्वचित्.
Since then, by the grace of the Almighty Vishnu, I travel everywhere without restriction, both in the transcendental world and in the 3 divisions of the material world. This is because I am fixed in unbroken devotional service of the Lord.
Text 32. देवदत्तामिमां वीणां स्वरब्रह्म विभूषितां मूर्छयित्वा हरिकथां गायमानश्चराम्यहम्.
And thus I travel, constantly singing the transcendental message of the glories of the Lord, vibrating this instrument called a veena, which is charged with transcendental sound and which was given to me by Lord Krishna.
Text 33. प्रगायतः स्ववीर्याणि तीर्थपादः प्रियश्रवः आहुत इव मे शीघ्रं दर्शनं याति चेतसि.
The Supreme Lord Sri Krishna, whose glories and activities are pleasing to hear, at once appears on the seat of my heart, as if called for, as soon as I begin to chant his holy activities.
Text 34. एतद्ध्यातुर्चित्तानां मात्रा स्पर्शेच्छया मुहुः भवसिन्धुप्लवो दृष्टो हरिचर्यानुवर्णनम्.
It is personally experienced by me that those who are always full of cares and anxieties due to desiring contact of the senses with their objects can cross the ocean of nescience on a most suitable boat. The constant chanting of the transcendental activities of the personality of Godhead.
Text 35. यमादिभिर्योगपथैः कामलोभहतो मुहुः मुकुन्दसेवया यद्वद्धात्माधा न शाम्यति.
It is true that by practicing restraint of the senses, by the yoga system, one can get relief from the disturbances of desire and lust. But this is not sufficient to give satisfaction to the soul, for this satisfaction is derived from the devotional service to the personality of Godhead.
Text 36. सर्वं तदिदम् आख्यातं यत् पृष्ठोऽहं त्वया नघ जन्म कर्म रहस्यं मे भवतश्चात्मतोषणम्.
O Vyasadeva, you are freed from all sins. Thus I have explained my birth and activities for self-realization, as you asked. All this will be conducive for your personal satisfaction also.
Text 37. Sutta uvacha evam sambhashya bhagavan narado vasavisuttam आमन्त्र्य वीणां रणयन् ययौ यादृच्छिको मुनिः.
Suta Goswami said, thus addressing Vyasadeva, Srila Narada Muni took leave of him, and vibrating on his veena instrument, he left to wander at his free will.
Text 38. Aho devarshirधन्योऽयं यत्कीर्तिं शाङ्गधन्वनः गायन्माद्यनिन्दं तन्त्र्या रमयत्यातुरं जगत्.
All glory and success to Srila Narada Muni because he glorifies the activities of the personality of Godhead, and so doing, he himself takes pleasure and also enlivens all the distressed souls of the universe. Hare Krishna, please forgive me for any mistakes. Hare Krishna, thank you.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you for this opportunity and apologies if I have made any mistakes. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Shubhada Mataji and Sakshi Mataji. Yes, thank you so much. Very nice.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Yes, I said thank you so much for organizing this.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. I've made you host now.
Thank you. Share my screen. So we're discussing Canto 1, Chapter 6, verse number 37. This is this second last verse, and 38 is the last verse. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudire Nashcha Praesha Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtaki. Verse 37. Suta Vacha Evam Sambhashya Bhagavan Narado Vasavi Sutam Amantrya Vinam Ranayan Yayo Yadruchako Munihi. Suta Vacha Evam Sambhashya Bhagavan Narado Vasavi Sutam Amantrya Vinam Ranyam Yayo Yadruchiko Munihi. Suta Vacha Evam Sambhashya Bhagavan Narado Vasavi Sutam Amantrya Vinam Ranyam Yayo Yadruchiko Munihi. Synonyms. Sutaha, Suta Goswami. Vacha, said. Evam, thus. Sambhashya, addressing. Bhagavan, transcendentally powerful. Naradaha, Narada Muni. Vasavi, named Vasavi Satyavati, within brackets. Sutam, son. Amantrya, inviting. Veenam, instrument. Ranayan, vibrating. Yayav, went. Yadrichikaha, wherever willing. Munihi, the sage. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada. Jai Srila Prabhupada. Sutta Goswami said, thus addressing Vyasadeva, Srila Narada Muni took leave of him, and vibrating on his veena instrument, he left to wander at his free will. Purport. Every living being is anxious for full freedom because that is his transcendental nature. And this freedom is obtained only through the transcendental service of the Lord. Illusioned by the external energy, everyone thinks that he is free, but actually he is bound up by the laws of nature. The conditioned soul cannot freely move from one place to another, even on this earth, and what to speak of one planet to another. But a full-fledged free soul like Narada, always engaged in chanting the Lord's glory, is free to move not only on earth, but also in any part of the universe, as well as in any part of the spiritual sky. We can just imagine the extent and unlimitedness of his freedom, which is as good as that of the Supreme Lord. There is no reason or obligation for his traveling, and no one can stop him from his free movement. Similarly, the transcendental system of devotional service is also free. It may or may not develop in a particular person even after he undergoes all the detailed formulas. Similarly, the association of the devotee is also free. One may be fortunate to have it, or one may not have it even after thousands of endeavors. Therefore, in all spheres of devotional service, freedom is the main pivot. Without freedom, there is no execution of devotional service. The freedom surrendered to the Lord does not mean that a devotee becomes dependent in every respect. To surrender unto the Lord through the transparent medium of spiritual master is to attain complete freedom of life. To surrender unto the Lord through the transparent medium of the spiritual master is to attain complete freedom of life. Hare Krishna. Om Ajnanatimidandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manoਭीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपा कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरुं श्रीयुतापदकमलं श्रीगुरोन् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातां सहगण रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधा कृष्णपदां सहगण ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितं च हे कृष्ण करुणा सिन्धु दीनबन्धो जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिकान्त राधाकान्त नमस्ते तप्तकाञ्चन गौराङ्गी राधे वृन्दावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। नमो विष्णुपदाय Krishna Krishnaya Bhutale
Shrimate
Bhaktivedanta
Swamine
Swami Niti Namane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Paschadesha Karine Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangham Langhaite Girim Yat Kripatamaham Vande Shri Guru Dina Karanam Paramananda Madham Shri Chaitanya Ishwaram. The last sentence is amazing. Hare Krishna. Thank you very much for being here this Thursday evening. We are discussing this transcendental discussion. And it's amazing. Purport by Srila Prabhupada covers so many points actually. It's going to be very difficult to just decrypt all these and understand these aspects. Make a small attempt. I think we can all contribute. This is a complex subject today because this talks about the freedom of a living entity. So Srila Narada Muni has the freedom. So he says it is amantra. Evam sambhashya Bhagavan Narado Vasvi Sutam. So the sambhashya is the discussion or addressing. So Narada Muni has addressed Srila Vyasadeva. His name here is mentioned as Vasvi Sutam. Is another name for Satyavati. Possibly because she, I don't know, I'm just probably a little bit speculating, but it's to do with a special body smell she had. Vasa. Something else also. Then it was removed by the blessings of Parasharashi. This Srila Narada Muni is after addressing Vyasadeva invites, he said, Amantra Veena. He invites his Veena and is vibrating. And vibrating on Veena instrument, he left at his free will. Yadrichakaha. How many of us has the free will, Prabhupada explains, to be able to move within the planet itself? It is so difficult. And we know that in the last 2 years of difficult time of the pandemic, how many of us could really move even outside of our house was so difficult. So this is the state of conditioned life in the material world. But Srila Narada Muni is free. Yeah, it's free to travel anywhere, not only within the material world, but also spiritual sky, it says here. He's free to move not only on earth, but also any part of the universe, as well as any part of the spiritual sky. There is no requirement of a visa, or a passport, or a immigration check, none of those things. Particular Narad Muni. And why is that? He does not carry any baggage. He has no baggage. So we are, as conditioned souls, we carry lots of baggages that we keep accumulating birth after birth after birth and becomes really heavy. Practically too much baggage to actually move around in the spiritual sky. So we need to get rid of those baggages to be able to follow in the footsteps of the acharyas. We can just imagine, Prabhupada says, we can just imagine the extent and unlimitedness of his freedom. It's inconceivable for us as jivas bound up here. We like nitya baddha. So freedom is not bound. So we are nitya baddhas by definition. We are here tangled in the material world. So nitya is eternally bound. And there are the other which are eternally free, nitya siddhas. So these are nitya siddhas. Sri Narad Muni becomes Nitya Siddha because he can travel anywhere. We Nitya Baddhas because we are bound up within the body. So Prabhupada explained in one lecture that our association with the body, the soul's association with the body is so timeless. It's so old that we can't even imagine. And because of this prolonged association of soul with the body and into the understanding of ourselves as a soul becomes extremely difficult. We can't even relate. We can't even relate that we are a soul. And then we are bound up by the laws of the material nature. So how can we actually appreciate what does freedom really mean? It's a very interesting, Srila Prabhupada always used to quote this independence of India. So first time when he met his own spiritual master, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, in 1922. When he met him, and then Prabhupada says it was interesting that, paraphrasing a little bit, sorry, even in the first meeting itself, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur instructed Srila Prabhupada, because you are learned in English and maybe you should go to the Western country and preach the mission of Srila Mahaprabhu, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. It says, you should go to the West and preach about the mission of the Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So Prabhupada said, well, we are a dependent nation and we are being controlled by the Britishers at the time. If we are being controlled by the others, we are dependent, we are not even independent. Our condition is that even the most uncultured countries are also independent, but we Indians are not independent. So who is going to respect to what we are speaking? So what is more important? Is to first get independence. And there's a long discussion there. But Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur immediately rejects that. He says, there is no point of this material so-called freedom. And Prabhupada later on says many times, oh, we have attained the freedom for Indians who are proud of being that Indian or American or British, as Prabhupada say. But yeah, so we have achieved the freedom, Prabhupada says. But then what is the result of that? There's more suffering and suffering. So the suffering is still there. It has not gone anywhere. So what is the point of that freedom? That was the point his own spiritual master was making. And Srila Prabhupada immediately, he thought over it and he then immediately realized that's the highest. And he decided to surrender. So there is no reason for obligation of his traveling. So Srila Narad Muni is not obliged. So we are obliged to go from one place to another. We are obliged to do so many duties. To get up in the morning, we have to do our activities, then we have to go to work, and we have to look after this and look after that. So we have obligations to travel. We're not traveling by our choice. And that's just a traveling daily travel. Some of us may not be traveling, working from home these days, a lot of us. But still, we are traveling in the cycle of birth and death. We travel from one body to the other body helplessly. Bhutva bhutva praliyate, Bhagavad Gita, 8th chapter, Krishna says that the living entities are helplessly annihilated. The whole of the material creation annihilated and created again and again. And the living entities are helpless. There's no control. They cannot do anything. There is no freedom as such. So what is the freedom we'll discuss? What sort of freedom do we really have, or we have no freedom? That we will discuss. Similarly, the transcendental system of devotional service, there are some other points that we'll discuss from the purpose, so deep points. That's the interesting point Prabhupada makes here. Similarly, there is no reason for Srila Narad Muni to travel, and no one can stop him from his free movement. So he is free. But then Prabhupada says, similarly, the transcendental system of devotional service is also free. It may or may not develop in a particular person, even after he undergoes all detailed formulas. What is referred here as a detailed formula? This is the Vaidhi Bhakti. The sadhakas, we perform sadhana, we've been given the regulations to do's and don'ts. So he says here that devotional service of bhakti is also free. It may or may not develop in a particular person, even after he undergoes all the detailed formulas. I did not expect this, to be honest. Can anyone say or some ideas on what does it mean? That are we say, is Prabhupada saying that in spite of performing all our devotional service, we may or may not get or develop? It may or may not develop. So there is an element of freedom within bhakti as well. So because why is the devotional service also free? Because it is at the transcendental level. It is not at the material level. Yeah, it is a transcendental system of devotional service. Similarly, the association of devotee is also free. One may be fortunate to have it, or one may not be. They may not have it even after thousands of endeavors. So what does it mean? Anyone would like to share what their thoughts are on these 2 points? Enlighten us. We have some time to discuss. What would this mean? Like, are we saying that association of devotee is free? We want to go out, we want to preach, we want to distribute books. We are trying to give, or at least devotees are trying to give association. Srila Prabhupada says in the old days, sadhus would go door to door, they will get some grains and alms, but actually they are giving the association to the people in general. And today's time, devotees are going out, distributing books and giving their association. But one may be fortunate to have it, or one may not. So we can understand that someone may not try to get it.
Hare Krishna,
Will not
Prabhuji.
get it. Yes, Mataji.
I can try saying something.
Yeah, please.
Sometimes devotees go out, we meet people, give books, they can take the book and put it in the bin. And even after so many endeavors, some people may not come completely into the devotional service because they don't have a guru. They don't think about having a guru, being in this material world, enjoying the senses. So for some people, it might be hard to give up their habits and take up to devotional service. They may start and then slowly they just let go of it. So that's why, because there's so many people, we get in touch with so many people and we talk about Krishna. Some may just give it just yes, some may just take a little bit on board and then they go and discard it. I don't know. This is my understanding of this sentence, Prabhuji.
Yeah,
even Prabhupada said, after thousands of thousands, that one can take to pure devotional service. But who is that fortunate one? Sometimes we think about it. We may be on this Zoom class every day. How many of us take it seriously? How many of us are following whatever Narad Muni is saying and Vyasadeva and have done this Bhagavatam? Who is taking it like seriously? Yes, we are chanting because we have to chant. Yes, we are doing other activities also, but we cannot also give all our activities and become like Srila Prabhupada. It's in this material world nowadays, it's very, very difficult, but some may endeavor. And there are also falls downs, sometimes the great devotees, they fall down. right?
Yes, yes. Thank you. Thank you,
Hare
Mother,
Krishna.
for that point. That reminds me of the Chaitanya Charitamrita famous verse, Brahmanda Brahmite Kona Bhagyavan Jeev, Guru Krishna Prasade Bhai Bhakti Lata Mich. Brahmanda Brahmite Kona Bhagyavan Jeev. Bhagyavan means someone is lucky. So what is the luck that is someone is carrying? There is causeless. This is the mercy is causeless. This is the point it is. So ultimately it is we dependent on the causeless mercy. There is no cause for the mercy. There's no cause for receiving association of devotee. So it's not the pure endeavors that can make us successful. It seems we also need to have a good luck. Bhagyavan ji. Yeah? Actually, there's another point that Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur also says in a similar way, is that someone, I don't know exactly, but he says on the line that it depends on the good luck of individual to receive bhakti. He says that it is about luck, and the luck is this only, that somehow we get mercy of a devotee, as you said, mercy of spiritual master, and that is causeless. Because that is causeless, that's why it cannot be bound. Something which is causeless, you can't bound. If it is a cause and effect, like it must happen, so by the fact of something happening, the effect should happen. So it's not just a pure cause and effect. It is pure mercy. So that's why bhakti is also free. Yeah, it's mercy is causeless mercy. Similarly, the association of devotees is also causeless. There is no reason. We can't force ourselves into anything. So we just have to depend on Krishna, just have to carry on. It doesn't mean that we stop doing what we're doing. We have to continue our devotional service and then constantly beg for the mercy. Even the great acharyas, there's so many bhajans when they're saying, they just continuously ask for the mercy of Vaishnava Thakur, oh Vaishnava Thakur. There's like so many bhajans like that. Therefore, in all spheres of devotional service, freedom is the main pivot. It's all about freedom. So because everything is causeless in the transcendental level, and also it's about the freedom. Freedom is the main pivot. All spheres of devotional service, whether the association or the bhakti or whatever it is. Without freedom, there is no execution of devotional service. What does this mean? Without freedom, there is no execution of devotional service. Anyone? Why does it say this? What does this freedom refer to?
Prabhu, Krishna has given us a freedom that you have choice, that if you can take a bhakti path or you want to take a material.
Yes.
No, yeah, because otherwise Krishna, Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says you have freedom. Otherwise, it's not freedom if Krishna bounds everybody's hands and legs and he said, okay, you just have to do what I say.
Yeah.
So that is a freedom, that we at least have a little freedom to choose to take a right path or the wrong path. Within Chaitya Guru Krishna, he is inspiring us, he gives us indications, but it's up to the jiva how much they can take it. And the other thing is, as you said, Prabhu, that yes, everything depends on the luck. Because no matter, like something, so many people get book and so many people get contact with the devotees. But if it is not in their karma to, because, like even bhakti is like a ladder. So depends which ladder they are. So, like if when they get in contact with the devotee or something spiritual, their bhakti sparks. So yeah, it depends on karma. Otherwise, they are in, and how much we take it. Devotees are freely giving it, but it's up to the person how much they can take it and how much they want to advance in it.
Yes, thank you. The key word for devotional service is love. And love, Srila Prabhupada, the love is something that we can't force on anyone. I can't force anyone to love me, or no one can force me to love that other person. And because devotional service is all about love, exchange of love, that's the definition that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gives. It's the exchange of love. So we can't force, or nobody can force us to love them, similarly, we can't force anyone else to love us. It's like that. That's why this free will is given as the, that's the only, we will discuss how much is that free will. We can discuss in a minute, but that still there is this free will, as Krishnamani Mataji explained, which makes the difference whether I use that freedom to satisfy my own senses and keep myself entangled in this material birth and death, Bhavasagar, or I use my free will to serve Krishna. That free will is always there. There is a free will for me, whether I go to temple or don't go to temple, or associate with one type of person or the other type of person, or do whatever. There is an element of free will. There is a minute freedom, Prabhupada says. Not a lot of freedom. There's a minute freedom. But there is there. Freedom surrendered to the Lord does not mean that the devotee becomes dependent in every respect. Now, what does this mean? We always thought that freedom surrendered to the Lord does not mean that the devotee becomes dependent in every respect. So we always thought we just become dependent on the Lord. That's the definition of surrender. Sharanagati's first definition is to be fully dependent on the Lord. And here Srila Prabhupada says the freedom surrendered to the Lord does not mean the devotee becomes dependent in every respect. Not in every respect means we have to still continue doing what we need to do from our side. Not that Krishna, if Krishna willing, some people say to us, oh, when Krishna desires, then I will come to the temple. Very common. I don't know how many of you heard that. When we ask someone to please come visit temple, yeah, it is Krishna's will. If he desires, then I will come. If he does not desire, because he is not desired so far, that's why I'm not coming. Hey, Baba is standing there all day, he's waiting. But he says, no, that's Krishna desire that I don't come. Don't just become dependent in that sense. We still have to do our endeavors. To surrender unto the Lord through the transparent medium of the spiritual master is to attain complete freedom of life. This is the surrender unto the Lord through the transparent medium. So we don't directly surrender unto the Lord. We surrender via media, the spiritual master. That is the punchline here. We can't be independently going because spiritual master is connected to the Lord and we connect in that parampara. That's the right way of connecting. Yeah, when someone is recommended by Srimati Radharani, then Krishna accepts. And our acharyas are connected to Srimati Radharani, the Rupanugas. That's how we hope that someday, our name will be recommended and then we get mercy of the Lord. Okay, so this is beautiful purport. And there are other aspects about the freedom of the living entities. What sort of freedom do we have really? There's this concept of Swatantra and Paratantra. Swatantra is that freedom, like I am Swatantra, means I am deciding what I need to do. I'm fully free. And who is the only person who is fully free is defined in the first verse of Srimad Bhagavatam. That is Bhagavan Sri Krishna, Vasudeva. He is the only one who is fully a business or art. He is the only one who is fully free. But all the living entities are paratantra. We are dependent on the Lord. We are dependent on so many aspects. We can't, like, to be able to maintain this body, we are dependent on so many other external factors. We can't breathe, we can't see without this light. Light we can see now, and there is air we can breathe. To maintain this body, we are dependent on all these. And all these controlling devatas, the controller devatas of the various material elements, they are also dependent on the Lord. So ultimately it is the Krishna, Sarva Karana Karanam. Ishvara Parama Krishna, Satchidananda Vigraha, Anadir Adir Govinda, Sarva Karana Karanam. So there is no cause, Anadir Adir. So he has nothing that precedes him, Anadir, and Adir, he is the oldest. He is Sri Krishna. And that's why he is the cause of himself. He is the cause of himself. This is the definition of God by one philosopher. So for the living entities, we are bound by the material nature. And because of that binding, what happens is we get different types of bodies. We can get body of like a fish. There are various levels of that evolution. We can get body of a fish. We can get a body of a vegetation or plants, and there could be body of the worms and body of the beasts, and then so many birds, and then finally human. Then there are also detailed description of 8.4 million, how they divide, how many varieties of different living entities are there. So 400 different types of human forms existing. So there are, but the principle is that once we are bound in a particular body, then we are helpless. We have to act as per the body. So if we get a body of tiger, then we have to act like a tiger. We can't act as someone else or something else. So that's the entities. The living entity desires. So why all these material varieties are created? Eventually to fulfill our desires only. What is that free will? That free will is for us to desire what we desire. We desire, and depending on what we deserve, Krishna gives us that. So because we have still not developed the taste of the spiritual life, we continue to explore the pleasure of the material life. And because we want to taste different senses, actually it is explained that a different species of the animal, they have a particular sense which is predominant. They can enjoy that sense. So the creation of this varieties of different living entities, different bodies, is designed in a way that every body gives pleasure or extended pleasure to a particular sense. There are so many examples. And that to fulfill that desire of a living entity, these forms are created. So this desire is our job. So we desire. Man proposes, God disposes, Prabhupada explains. And then the problem with that, our desire, is because we are illusioned. So the first problem that we have is we are illusioned. We are in the sammoha. What does it say? Dvandva mohena bharata. Ichha dvesha samuttena dvandva mohena bharata. We have the ichha and dvesh. We have the liking and disliking, attachment and aversions. So we have so many binding factors actually. We are bound by the karma. So we are not free in so many ways. We talk about how many different types of freedom we will potentially need. The biggest freedom is obviously the freedom of the material existence. So that is the highest. In one class, one devotee was sharing that Srila Prabhupada visited a Gurukul that was somewhere in US. The first Gurukul was open, and there were children studying there. And Srila Prabhupada visited that place, and the teachers, then they all went to see Srila Prabhupada. And Prabhupada asked them, what is that you're teaching them, or teaching the kids primarily? What is that? So devotees were explaining different aspects to love Krishna or this and that. Srila Prabhupada said one thing, we have to teach them how to get out of this continuous repetition of birth and death. This is what we're teaching them. So this ultimate freedom from the material existence is called mukti. And that mukti, that is the ultimate freedom that we want. But to be able to get that, what is the definition of that freedom? Janma, Mrityu, Jara, Vyadhi. These are the four, the Vyadhis, 4 problems that we have. Janma, Mrityu, Jara, Vyadhi. These are the 4 things we want to get rid of. So we want to be deathless, we want to be fearless, we want to be free from old age, and we want to free from the problem of birth. These are the 4 things. If we go beyond that, that means we are liberated. This is the definition of liberation in that pure sense. But obviously, we as devotees, we attain more than just liberation. But that's very high in the sense to attain the love of God. But Srila Prabhupada's instruction was to always, everyone at the sadhaka level should be aiming to get rid of this material existence. And that material existence means bound by the 3 modes of material nature. And due to the 3 modes of material nature, we're getting different types of bodies. Because 3 modes of material nature, goodness, passion, and ignorance, all the bodies, all the forms, everything is created because of these 3 modes of material nature. Because the living entity desires in one way or the other, the facilities are being created. And the facilities are created, and then the living entity enjoys them and get entangled more and more. And all the action, actually the reaction, all the other bodies are only, it is said that, are achieved because of the desire that living entity creates in the birth of on the body of human. So when we take birth as human, that's when we create the reactions, and the rest of the 8 point so many, or 8 million, 400,000 are the human types, are purely to facilitate those desires or those actions and reactions that we have been accumulating. So we have to be free from reactions. How do we get free from reactions? So Krishna explained this in Bhagavad Gita also, just by abstaining from the work, we don't get freedom from reactions. So we have to act in a way that we don't get bound. And how do we act that? When we act for Krishna, that is the akarma, the vikarma and karma, those concepts that 4th chapter Bhagavad Gita explains. So we have to be free from the reaction of our actions. We have to be free from the doubt and illusions. Asammoha, dvanda mohena bharata. So we have to be free from the doubts and illusions. We have to be free from the attachment and aversion. So we have samata. The concept of samata means we don't hate or we don't like anything, but we accept what is favorable and what is unfavorable. We reject what is not favorable. Anukulyasya sankalpa, pratikulyasya varjanam. So this is the principle that is provided by Rupa Goswami. So once we have attained that freedom from illusion and doubt and attachment and aversion, and we have the freedom from reactions. So, and then we gradually have to, obviously, even before that, we have to have freedom from anger. How do we get freedom from anger, or freedom from greed or envy? Again, Ishopanishad gives a beautiful verse there. The first verse of Ishopanishad, Ishavasham idam sarvam. And does anyone know the first verse after invocation of?
Yeah, Ishavasya sarvam yat kinchit jagatyam jagat tena taktena bhunjitama vridha kasya svidhanam.
Yeah, magra kasya svidhanam. So do not desire for what is not your take. So when we are satisfied, when we are content that what we receive, that everything is owned by the Supreme Lord. Ishavasham idam sarvam yat kincha jagatam jagat. So whatever is there in this material creation is owned by the Supreme Lord. Tena taktena bhunjita. We only should desire for what is in our quota. If we live in our quota, and we are satisfied that there is no anger. Anger is only because there is a disappointment or unfulfillment of a desire. That's when the anger happens. And the greed is the other side of when we get something, some desire fulfilled, we develop greed for it. So we get more and more. And when someone else has it, then we are envious and we want to have it. That's another type of problem. So all the akarodha, aluptvam, adroha, freedom from anger, lust and greed and envy. Yeah, and then also the aspect of proprietorship, mamatvam. There is also the concept of bhaktatvam, kartatvam and bhaktitvam in 13th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. It says a living entity becomes responsible for his own suffering and enjoyment. So why does a living entity becomes responsible for his own suffering and enjoyment? Because he's making the choice. Someone, actually in my own case, when I started, I was too much in distress. I'm sorry. And one day I was really angry. Why is God doing this to me? If there is God, why does He do this to me? I was so disappointed. And actually, this is the condition most of the people in this world have. They just always blame. Someone has to be blamed. Who is responsible? It's actually devotee says, if everything is controlled by Maya, in the influence of Maya, a living entity commits sin. Maya is in control of Krishna. That means Krishna is responsible for all my sins. Says to Prabhupada. Prabhupada gets very angry. Rascal, you are responsible. You make a choice. We make a choice. That is our minute freedom. That we make a choice, we make a desire. Yeah, and then everything is just the fulfillment of that desire. Otherwise, there are so many doers. As part of one activity, there are 5 doers in 18th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. But the living entity, because of its desires, is tangled. That freedom is used on this conscious time. Oh, Krishna, it's time. When that freedom is used in the service of Krishna, then we can become free, because it is ultimately Krishna's, everything is Krishna's control, is in Krishna's control. So to the degree we are turning towards the spiritual life, to that degree we start to feel freedom. It can be externally, some people may see that actually we are bound because we have to be up in the morning, we have to chant, we have to do this, we have to read, and we have to hear, we go this, we have got so many do's and don'ts. So externally we seem that we are bound, but to the degree we are bound in this way, we are bound in the spiritual sense, we actually become free from the material bounds. And otherwise there is no freedom. Just one last thing I had was when Kunti Maharani prays, as part of Kunti Maharani prays, when Krishna decides to leave, because now Pandavas have won the battle and Yudhishthira has been made the king, and now Krishna wants to leave and he wants to go back to Dwarka. Then Kunti Maharani says, how can you leave us now? We are always been protected by you. So devotees always, even though they are in any situation, they always seek protection from the Lord. They are always dependent on the Lord for His protection. So Kunti Maharani says, you're leaving, but it seems we are safe, but we are not, because there are always other kings waiting to attack us once again, and we will be once again, in the similar situation. So she begs to the Lord, do not leave us. Do not leave us, Lord. Stay here. Because she always feels that, we need your protection. So devotees just constantly desire for the protection of the Lord. So they become dependent in that sense. Continuing our duty, we become dependent on the Lord. And to that dependence will actually give us the freedom in the end. So quarter to 9, sorry. Got distracted by a lot of things. It's time. So any question, any realization?
Prabhuji,
Oh,
thank you. Very, very wonderful class. It's deeply philosophical points that we need to understand and grasp. A couple of conundrums which are commonplace in the devotees, both neophyte and trying to advance devotees. Certainly in my stage of neophyte, it becomes a conundrum. So firstly, Prabhuji, chance or luck is not within the vocabulary of the spiritual world. Nothing happens without the Lord's desire. And it is, if we say luck is in process, then that means there's statistical chance. And therefore, the whole argument of how the creation was done by chance comes in place. But there is no room for chance in Lord's creation. Everything is done by Lord's calculation and will and desire. So the fact that we meet so-called chance other devotees is actually our sukruti from previous lives and karmic accumulation that gives us the opportunity to come in contact with devotees. It is previously built up sukruti that gives us the opportunity to meet. What we do with that opportunity is then that free will, whether we actually take it up or not. Now, here comes a conundrum. So if nothing, not even a blade of grass moves without Krishna's desire, and everything happens by the Lord's will, how is it that we have free will? Is it not that the Krishna knows our free will and will? So the conundrum is, if it happens by Krishna's desire, is it Krishna's desire that I don't take up to bhakti?
That's why I said it is always Krishna has to be blamed for everything. But that free will, we have to stay, because what we were saying before, it is about love. Krishna does not want to force love upon us. He does not want us. He doesn't want to force us to love him, because love cannot be forced. So that's why this devotional service particularly, bhakti by definition is not to be forced. That's why it is our free will that we desire to love Krishna, because we desire to be away from, independent of Krishna. Yeah, we come here and then we live as independent of Krishna. We want to enjoy independent of Krishna. That free will we always get. On the first aspect of what you said was Sukruti. So there is element of Sukruti, but what he said about karma in the 11th canto, it's a very interesting conversation between Uddhav and Krishna. Krishna says some people, this is a concept called karma mimamsha or pura mimamsha, is one of the Saddarshan, the 6 philosophies, which says that everything is dependent on karma. If you do karma, you get result like that. So there is actually no higher authority over karma. This is one type of actually atheism, Krishna says to Uddhav. That if everything is because of karma, then where is the role of the Supreme Lord? Where is Krishna? He's sitting within our heart. Yeah, and he's guiding everyone. Yeah. And he's reminding us that what we desired, that is the desire being fulfilled. So when we take birth as a worm, Krishna as a father is worried, oh, he's taking a birth as a worm. So I need to, guide him how he has to fulfill his desire to satisfy a particular sense that can only be satisfied in that body. So the Krishna element is taken out in the karma mimamsha, which is why it is atheism. And because of this, agyata sukruti, what he is saying, which is unknown, we don't know what we did. There's one logic of we don't know what we did, agyata sukruti, and because of which I have received this. But then it means that we are deserving something. Then we override that principle of the causeless mercy. What is highest in our philosophy is the causeless mercy, Prabhuji. This is what number of discussions I've had with various senior devotees. And this is what it finally establishes. The highest principle is the causeless. Because it is causeless, that is a point of luck or bhagyavan. Because there is no reason you can establish it. So this is why I got devotion. No, there's no reason. I just got it because the mercy of the devotees of the special mercy.
But that was the point I was making, Prabhuji. It is not luck, because luck means that statistically something happened in your favor. It wasn't statistically something happened in your favor. Krishna's mercy happened in your favor.
That is the luck.
It is through Krishna's mercy that we get what we call luck, but it's not luck. Actually, it is not left to chance. It's left to Krishna.
Prabhuji,
So
Allah
see,
does
luck
not
means
say-
statistically there is something that's left to chance. But in
there's a difference, Prabhuji, between what we are saying. The luck is, our good luck is that we are being favored by devotees and Krishna. Yes, without Krishna desire, nothing happens. But for us, it is our good luck. If I say that I deserve it, then I become authority. Yes, you have to get it.
no, I think you misunderstood the point I was making. So the chance and the luck is the mercy of Krishna.
Yes.
It is Krishna's mercy, which is effectively our luck.
We are probably saying the same thing. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, we're saying the same thing.
Ultimately, yeah,
But it's not left to chance where it happens without Krishna's desire.
No.
It happens only with Krishna's desire, because that is the luck.
Yes.
And
So
I heard Bhakti Rasamrita Swami answer a really nice way. The issue with respect to Sukruti and Krishna's will and desire compared to our independence. So we have the independence of choice on what decisions we're going to make, but Krishna is already aware of what decisions we're going to make.
there is no joy then, isn't it?
Yeah, but he is aware of what decisions we're going to make. Otherwise, he wouldn't know past, present, and future. How would he know the future otherwise? So it's not that he doesn't know the choices we're going to make. He leaves us the independence for the choices we make, but he also is aware what choices we're likely to make.
Yeah, I'll tell you something. Yeah, I mean, this applies more for the devotees. So if we leave alone our conditions, so let's talk about devotees where Krishna really wants to, interfere or enjoy with.
But devotees,
so what happened is,
devotees, Krishna takes over all. Yeah.
No, because for Krishna, if we put the Aishwarya on Krishna, that he knows everything. Yes, he says that he knows everything, past, present, and future. But when he acts, unless he experienced that surprise element, I'll tell you the story in Krishna book. When the big snake, Aghasur, he's lying there, and the other Gopas and his friends are leading ahead, and Krishna is following them. And they see that look at that. There is this something big cave or something. At some stage, they realize that it is not ordinary, something unusual about it. And they start to enter into the mouth of Aghasur. And Krishna then it says in the Krishna video, he's surprised. He did not predict. He says, I'm so surprised. Look at all these Gopas. They're entering into the mouth of this large snake, what do you call it? And they are fully dependent. They say, oh yeah, okay, it seems like it's a massive, what's the right word for snake? The big snakes.
Cave. He said it was they realized it's a cave, Prabhu, isn't it?
Yeah, no. They at some stage, then they later realize that this is not ordinary, something unusual about it. It's probably a demon. And they say, okay, who cares? It seems like a good ride anyway. And they go in, depending on Krishna. And Krishna is surprised. There are so many aspects when Krishna actually says surprise. So if Krishna knows everything, Prabhu, Krishna covers him. This is actually goes in the higher and deeper principle of how the Yogamaya works. The Yogamaya works only for the purpose of giving pleasure to Krishna. When Krishna is exchanging love with his devotees, Yogamaya has to come. If the Yogamaya does not come, then Krishna, everything is aware. Then there is no joy for Krishna. Ultimately, Krishna, we are all created for the joy of Krishna. Krishna expanded. There's one law. If Krishna is satisfied by himself, why does he expand? He does expand for his enjoyment. So we are all here for his enjoyment. If there is no, if someone knows everything, there is no enjoyment. So time. It is something around that. So there is this element of surprise always there because Krishna enjoys that. That's the only purpose. Ultimately, everything is designed for Krishna's enjoyment. Yeah. And if everything is known, then there is no enjoyment. I'm going to read some more. What is the definition?
Sorry, I took up so much time. Apologies.
No, we can chat offline on this. It's interesting. This is so nice. This is all churning. Is so nice. Thank you so much. What is the definition of a devotee, please? What is the definition of a devotee?
Definition of a devotee is fully surrendered, to totally surrender to Krishna, that whatever they do it for Krishna.
Thank you, Mataji.
And the other thing is this Bhakti Charu Swami always say, nothing happens by chance. Everything has its course. Like Prabhu was saying, yes, it is our own karmas, and then due to our sukriti, people get, come in contact with the devotees, and some, because of they didn't have enough pious activities. So although they come in contact, but still it does not fructify at that time.
Yes, thank you. Okay, there's Hare Krishna. I feel it's also our desire to know him that Krishna is waiting for. Krishna is just waiting for any chance to come into our lives with our desire to know more than we do currently. He's waiting for us to become dissatisfied. Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Mother. He's sitting within our heart, waiting for us to turn to him. And then he makes the arrangement for the spiritual master. So Krishna arranges everything and he's waiting for us. Thank you so much. Yes, chances Krishna. Because Krishna loves us, he gives us his unconditional love. That is why Krishna gives us the free will. Thank you. This is very nice. iPhone. A very nice discussion. Thank you so much. I didn't realize it will go that much. Thank you. Thank you so much, and please forgive any confusion, any offenses. Hare Krishna. Granthara Srimad Bhagavad Purana ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Sindhudevi Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Very nice.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Prabhu ki jai.
Hare Krishna. Thank you.